The sound of rain pattering against the windows created a cozy ambience as I stared out at the dense forest surrounding the cabin. It had been 3 days since I'd accepted Jake's invitation to spend the weekend at his family's cabin, and I still couldn't believe I was here. We'd been colleagues at the marketing firm for nearly 2 years, our desks positioned just close enough that we developed the kind of comfortable friendship that thrived on inside jokes and shared lunch breaks. There had always been something simmering beneath the surface. Lingering glances across conference room tables, conversations that stretched well past office hours, but neither of us had ever crossed that invisible line. It all started with a casual message on a particularly stressful Tuesday. Need to escape the city this weekend? My family's cabin is empty, and I could use some company. I remember staring at my phone, my thumb hovering over the keyboard as I contemplated my response. Was this just a friendly invitation, or was there something more to it? The cabin was remote, about 3 hours from the city, nestled deep in the mountains where cell service was spotty at best. Part of me felt nervous about the isolation, but another part, a part one didn't often acknowledge, was thrilled by the possibility of uninterrupted time with Jake. After deliberating for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, I replied with a casual "sounds perfect." I'm in. The rest of the week crawled by, each hour stretching longer than the last as anticipation built. I caught myself daydreaming during meetings, imagining cozy evenings by the fireplace, long hikes through pine-scented forests, and conversations that might finally venture beyond the safe territory of work complaints and mutual friends. When Friday finally arrived, I packed my bag with perhaps too much care, comfortable clothes for hiking, a nice outfit, just in case, and my favorite sweater that an ex-boyfriend once said brought out the gold flecks in my eyes. The drive up was surprisingly comfortable. Jake's taste in music aligned perfectly with mine, and conversation flowed easily as the urban landscape gradually gave way to rolling hills and eventually the dense forest that surrounded our destination. The cabin itself was nothing like I'd imagined. When Jake had said family cabin, I'd pictured something rustic and perhaps a bit run down, the kind of place with questionable plumbing and mice in the walls. Instead, what stood before us was a beautiful 2-story structure with large windows and a wraparound porch. My grandfather built it, Jake explained as he unlocked the front door, but my parents renovated about 5 years ago. They come up every summer, but it sits empty most of the year. Seems like a waste, doesn't it? Inside was even more impressive, an open-concept living area with a stone fireplace, a modern kitchen with granite countertops, and comfortable furniture that invited you to sink in and stay a while. Jake gave me a tour, ending with the sleeping arrangements. There are 3 bedrooms upstairs, he said, gesturing toward the wooden staircase. You can take whichever one you want. They all have their own bathrooms, so no need to share. I appreciated the thoughtfulness, the way he immediately addressed what could have been an awkward situation. That first evening set the tone for what I thought would be a relaxing, friendly weekend. We cooked dinner together, a simple pasta dish with ingredients we'd brought from the city, and opened a bottle of red wine that Jake insisted was perfect for cabin nights. Sitting by the fire afterward, the conversation drifted from work to more personal topics, family backgrounds, past relationships, though we both kept details vague, and dreams that extended beyond our current careers. I've always wanted to write a novel, I admitted after my second glass of wine had loosened my tongue. Something moody and atmospheric, set in a place just like this. Jake smiled, the firelight casting interesting shadows across his face. Maybe this weekend will inspire you, he said, his voice softer than usual. There's something about being away from everything that helps you connect with parts of yourself you usually ignore. I remember thinking how perceptive that was, how it perfectly captured what I was already experiencing. Away from the constant demands of work and the social obligations of city life, I felt more present, more attuned to my own thoughts and feelings, and increasingly aware of Jake's presence, the way he moved through space with an easy confidence that I'd never fully appreciated in our fluorescent-lit office. The next day dawned bright and clear, perfect hiking weather according to Jake, who apparently spent his teenage summers exploring the network of trails that crisscrossed the surrounding mountains. After breakfast, pancakes that Jake insisted on making, revealing a domestic side I hadn't known existed, we set off on what he promised would be a moderate hike to a nearby waterfall. 2 hours later, I was questioning both Jake's definition of moderate and my own fitness level as we climbed yet another steep incline. But the exertion was worth it when we finally reached our destination, a stunning waterfall cascading down moss-covered rocks into a clear pool below. We sat on a fallen log, catching our breath and sharing the trail mix and water Jake had packed. "Worth the climb?" he asked, his smile suggesting he already knew the answer. "Absolutely," I admitted, taking in the view. "Though I might not be able to walk tomorrow." Jake laughed. "The cabin has a hot tub on the back deck, perfect for soothing sore muscles." The mention of a hot tub sent my mind in directions I wasn't prepared for. Jake in swim shorts, the intimacy of sharing that space. But I pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the journey back to the cabin, which thankfully was mostly downhill. The weather changed rapidly in the mountains. By the time we returned to the cabin, dark clouds had gathered, and the first drops of rain began to fall as Jake unlocked the front door. Within minutes, it had developed into a proper downpour, the kind that makes you grateful for solid walls and a roof overhead. "Perfect timing," Jake said as he hung our jackets by the door. "How about that hot tub now? The rain makes it even better, trust me." I hesitated, suddenly aware that I hadn't packed a swimsuit, not having anticipated this particular amenity. "I didn't bring anything to wear," I admitted, feeling my cheeks warm slightly. Jake shrugged, his expression casual. "T-shirt and shorts work fine, or whatever you're comfortable in. No pressure, it was just an idea." I nodded, appreciating his understanding. "Maybe later. I think I need a shower first, wash off the trail dust." "Of course," he said. "Take your time. I'll get a fire going and maybe start on dinner. I was thinking stir-fry tonight if that works for you." The normalcy of the conversation, discussing dinner plans like we did this every weekend, helped settle my nerves. This was just Jake, my friend and colleague. The strange tension I'd been feeling was probably just a product of the unfamiliar setting and the unusual amount of one-on-one time. The shower in my bathroom was luxurious, multiple jets and excellent water pressure, the kind you'd expect in an upscale hotel rather than a cabin in the woods. I stood under the hot spray longer than necessary, letting it soothe my tired muscles while I tried to sort through my conflicting emotions. I was attracted to Jake, that much was clear, but was it worth risking our friendship and working relationship? And more importantly, was he feeling the same way, or was I misinterpreting friendly gestures through the lens of my own attraction? I was so lost in thought that I didn't immediately register the sound of the bathroom door opening. It wasn't until I heard Jake's voice, "Hey, I forgot to mention the shower can be tricky," that I realized I wasn't alone. Through the steamed glass of the shower door, I could make out his blurred silhouette standing just inside the bathroom. "Jake," I called out, my voice higher than normal. "I'm in here." "Sorry," he said quickly. "I thought you were still getting ready." The upstairs showers sometimes lose hot water pressure if you run them too long. "I was just going to show you the trick to fix it." I should have been upset at the intrusion, but something in his voice, a genuine concern mixed with embarrassment, defused any potential awkwardness. "Actually," I admitted, "it was starting to get cooler." "What's the trick?" There was a pause, and I could almost feel him deliberating. "It's easier to show than explain, but I can wait until you're done." I made a split-second decision, one that still surprises me when I think back on it. "No, it's fine. You can show me now. Just turn around while I wrap a towel." I quickly turned off the water, grabbed the oversized towel hanging nearby, and secured it around myself before sliding the shower door open slightly. "Okay, you can turn around now." Jake turned, his eyes carefully staying on my face. "It's the pressure valve," he explained, gesturing toward a small dial near the shower head that I hadn't noticed. "It gets stuck sometimes. You have to turn it all the way to the left, then back to the middle." He stepped closer to demonstrate, reaching past me into the shower stall. The movement brought him close enough that I could smell his cologne, something woodsy and subtle that suited our surroundings. Our eyes met as he lowered his arm, and something shifted in the air between us. Later, I wouldn't be able to say who moved first, whether I leaned toward him or he toward me. But suddenly we were kissing, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. When we broke apart, Jake's eyes searched mine. "I've been wanting to do that since we left the city," he admitted. "Just since then?" I asked, surprising myself with my boldness. He laughed softly. "No, much longer. But here, away from work and everything else, it finally felt possible." What happened next unfolded with a dreamlike quality. Jake stepping back to give me space, asking if I wanted him to leave, and my response surprising us both. Or you could stay. Join me. The shower's big enough for two. And you did say you needed to show me how to fix the hot water. His smile then, part disbelief, part joy, is something I'll never forget. Are you sure? He asked, giving me every opportunity to change my mind. I wasn't sure of anything except that I wanted this moment, this connection. I'm sure. Jake stepped back, his eyes never leaving mine as he pulled his t-shirt over his head. I'd seen him in the company gym before, but this was different, intimate and intentional. He stepped out of his jeans next, leaving him in just his boxers. Last chance to change your mind, he said softly. In response, I turned and stepped back into the shower, letting the towel drop just before sliding the door closed behind me. I heard Jake's intake of breath, followed by the rustle of fabric and then the shower door opening again. And then he was there with me, under the spray that had indeed gone cold, but neither of us noticed or cared. The shower itself was a revelation, not just physically, though that aspect was certainly memorable, but emotionally as well. There was a vulnerability in being so completely exposed, in letting someone see you without any barriers or pretenses. We explored each other with a mixture of urgency and tenderness, learning the contours of bodies we'd only imagined before. Afterward, wrapped in plush bathrobes we found hanging on the bathroom door, we sat on the edge of my bed, the rain still pattering against the windows. So, Jake said, breaking a silence that had stretched comfortable between us. That wasn't exactly how I planned this weekend going. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in months. No? You mean inviting me to a remote cabin, showing off your cooking skills, and then accidentally walking in on my shower wasn't all part of an elaborate seduction plan? He shook his head, his expression turning serious. The invitation was genuine. I really did just want to spend time with you, get to know you outside of work. The rest, that was hoping, maybe, but not planning. I believed him. Jake had always struck me as straightforward, someone who said what he meant and meant what he said. It was one of the qualities that had drawn me to him initially, that refreshing honesty in a workplace often characterized by politics and posturing. What happens now? I asked, the question that had been hovering at the edges of my mind even as we'd lost ourselves in each other. When we go back to the city, to the office. Jake took my hand, his thumb tracing patterns on my palm. That depends on what you want. We could treat this as a cabin thing, something that happened here and stays here. Or, I prompted when he didn't continue. Or we could see where this goes. Take it slow, be discreet at work, but give us a real chance. His voice held no pressure, just an open question. I considered the options, weighing the potential complications against what we might build together. I'd like to try, I said finally. The us option. But you're right about taking it slow and being careful at work. The relief in his smile told me he'd been genuinely uncertain about my answer. Slow it is, he agreed. Though maybe not too slow. The playful question in his voice made me laugh. We spent the rest of that rainy afternoon and evening in a bubble of new intimacy, cooking dinner together as planned, but now with casual touches and stolen kisses, sitting by the fire afterward, but curled together on the couch rather than in separate chairs, talking about everything and nothing, the conversation flowing even more easily now that the unacknowledged tension between us had been resolved. That night, when it came time for bed, there was no question of separate rooms. We fell asleep in my bed, the one closest to the bathroom where everything had changed, with the sound of rain still drumming against the roof and Jake's arm wrapped securely around my waist. Sunday arrived too quickly, bringing with it the reality of our impending return to the city. We packed up the cabin in comfortable silence, each of us perhaps processing the shift in our relationship and what it would mean going forward. The drive back was different from the journey up, still comfortable, still filled with easy conversation, but now interspersed with moments of meaningful silence and the occasional touch of Jake's hand on mine when the road allowed. As we approached the city limits, Jake glanced over at me. "Any regrets?" he asked, the question casual but his tone suggesting its importance. I thought about the weekend, the hike, the rain, the shower, everything that had followed, and shook my head. Not a single one. You. His smile was answer enough, but he added, only that we have to go back to pretending we're just colleagues tomorrow. We'll figure it out, I assured him, surprising myself with my confidence. Besides, we've got another weekend coming up in just 5 days. Jake's laugh filled the car. Are you suggesting we make this a regular thing? The cabin getaways? I shrugged, enjoying the lightness between us. Well, I never did get to try that hot tub. The city rose around us, buildings replacing trees, the sounds of traffic drowning out the memory of rainfall on the roof. But something of the cabin stayed with us, a shared secret, a new beginning, a story that had started with a simple invitation and led somewhere neither of us had fully anticipated but both now embraced. Monday morning in the office was an exercise in restraint. We arrived separately, maintained a professional distance, and limited our interactions to work-related matters. But there were moments, a lingering glance across the conference table, a brush of fingers when passing documents, a private smile when no one else was looking, that carried the promise of what we were building beyond those walls. 3 months have passed since that first weekend at the cabin. We've returned twice more, each visit deepening our connection. At work, we've maintained our professional boundaries, though a few observant colleagues have begun to raise knowing eyebrows when they see us together. We're taking it day by day, navigating the complexities of a relationship that began in the simplicity of a forest retreat. Sometimes I think about that shower, the moment that transformed us from friends and colleagues to something more. It wasn't just the physical intimacy, though that was certainly significant. It was the vulnerability, the honest seeing and being seen, the willingness to step into uncertainty together. In that steamy bathroom, with rain drumming on the roof above us, we'd both chosen to take a risk, to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I don't know what the future holds for Jake and me. Workplace relationships come with their own set of challenges, and we're still learning how to balance our professional and personal connections. But I do know that I don't regret accepting that invitation to his cabin, don't regret the moment when the bathroom door opened and everything changed. Sometimes the most unexpected invitations lead to the most meaningful journeys. Sometimes a weekend away becomes the beginning of something that follows you home. And sometimes, just sometimes, what starts in a shower continues long after the water runs cold. Total _char_count, 13,728.